They have no one to blame but themselves. Politicians love to talk, but sometimes their own words come back to haunt them. Whether it's an off-the-cuff remark, a blatant lie, or just acting weird, history is filled with moments where a single statement derailed entire careers. Some of these slip-ups were instant disasters, while others took time to unravel, but the results were always their political downfall. Today we're covering some of these moments, and you'll love every second of it, but as always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President, I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. I'm running for president of the United States because I think this country's in a lot of trouble.
To be fair, Pence went on to explain he can work on the home and Ford front at the same time, but the clips of it were already spreading on social platforms, and people were accusing him of not being concerned about the interests of the country. To make things worse, Pence's campaign was struggling to gather funding, as he only managed to raise $1.2 million. When his interview aired on the 14th of July in 2023, polling showed Mike sitting at 6% of the primary voters. Just 6 days later, that number almost halved, and he had only 3.8%. Unsurprisingly, he was the first candidate to drop out of the race just 3 months later. Next, we have a major throwback to 2004 and how a single scream ended this man's run for the presidency.
You know something? You know something? If you had told us 1 year ago that we were going to come in third in Iowa, we would have given anything for that. And you know something? You know something? Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
This gets me every time, but to put things into perspective, Howard Dean's campaign had everything going for it, until it didn't. He was an early frontrunner, especially among young voters and the anti-war crowd, but despite all that momentum, his campaign came crashing down after the infamous scream. People present in the crowd didn't notice anything out of the ordinary as they witnessed what seemed like nothing more than an impassioned speech. But his audio setup isolated his voice for the television audience, making the Dean scream as we know it, standing out comedically. The MSM played it on a loop, comedians at a field day, and just like that, his credibility took a nosedive. The moment reinforced the existing narrative that Dean was too hot-headed to be president, but if that happened nowadays, the man would meme himself into the office. He did a modern version of it during the 2016 DNC, so let's see how it went.
And if that is the president we want, if that is the America that we believe in, then do not wait until November to make your voice heard. And volunteer, because this race is going to be won on the ground. And it's going to be won in Colorado and in Iowa and North Carolina and Michigan and Florida and Pennsylvania, and then we're going to the White House.
Spoiler alert, neither he nor Hillary Clinton ever made it to the White House, at least not as president. Drop a like if you're also disappointed because he didn't give us the Dean scream. After ending his presidential run, Howard went on to become the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he held that position from 2005 to 2009. We can't really name drop Hillary without talking about her run versus Trump, so here are some of those moments that contributed to her loss.
To know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes me smart. But I will tell you that, number one, I pay tremendous numbers of taxes. I absolutely used it, and so did Warren Buffett, and so did George Soros, and so did many of the other people that Hillary is getting money from.
Can you say how many years you have avoided paying personal federal income taxes?
No, but I pay tax, and I pay federal tax, too. But I have a write-off. A lot of it's depreciation, which is a wonderful charge. I love depreciation. She's given it to us. Hey, if she had a problem, for 30 years she's been doing this, Anderson. I say it all the time. She talks about health care. Why didn't she do something about it? She talks about taxes. Why didn't she do something about it? She doesn't do anything about anything other than talk. With her, it's all talk and no action.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Again, these weren't the only moments that lost her the bid for the presidency and ultimately her political career, because it wasn't just about one mistake. Rather, it was the perfect storm of bad strategy, public perception, and an opponent who knew how to shake up the system. First, there were allegations that the primaries were rigged against Bernie. Then there was the baggage that Hillary came with. The Benghazi attack and her private email server scandal proved that she was dishonest and untrustworthy. The FBI's last-minute announcement about reopening the investigation into her emails just days before the election only ended up adding fuel to the fire. She also called the other half of the country the basket of deplorables, which highlighted a deeper issue. See, her campaign wasn't built on a strong message, but rather on the assumption that she was entitled to win simply because she wasn't Trump. This was something similar to what Kamala did, and she took it to the next level, but her public appearances were full of instances just like these.
At the debate,
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not have said that. But my staff will deal with that later.
Yeah.
A group that has their acronym CARICOM. It is the Caribbean nations, island nations. In the Western Hemisphere, that is where the Caribbean is, we are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children. Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
With every media appearance, Kamala was slowly executing her brilliant strategy of unburdening us of her presence in our political system. Whether it was laughing at serious questions, delivering word salads that made absolutely no sense, and constantly dodging any real responsibility, Harris talked herself into irrelevance by one bad speech at a time. Do you think there should have been other politicians on this list? Let us know in the comments down below. Maybe we'll make another video. That would be really fun. And if you want your friends to be as informed as you, please share the video with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.